the city and only the city. A couple other things I will mention. I am the vice president of Palm Beach County League of Cities and the incoming president. Timing wise, our executive director, Richard Radcliffe, of 14 years of service as the ED, the executive director of the Palm Beach League, has just retired. I have spent the last month, we had 250 people apply for that role, over 250. We got a short list. We interviewed 23 of them, of the 250 that applied. So we did a short list of 23, a little less than 10%. And tomorrow morning's board meeting for the league, we are giving three names of definite people that we would hire and two very strong names. Of those 25 people, at least 10 of them would make amazing interim city manager. One thing I don't want to do is rush the search for a permanent city manager. I want the city to do a robust search, take its time, and hire the perfect person. But in terms of an interim city manager, there's lots and lots of options out there. I just went through an entire executive director search, something similar. One of the person who applied, their permanent job is an interim city manager. They go all across the country and serve as an interim city manager in all these different cities throughout the country. Always. I'm just throwing it out there. So we have options in terms of who we can hire. But I personally would like to carve out the city manager role, and I would like a dedicated city manager for the city of Westlake. Very soon. It's my opinion. I would love to take my colleagues in the council. I will start with vice mayor. You're the vice mayor.
I also agree that we should be taking our time with this and getting out of the rushing. In my mind, the time frame of 4 to 6 months for us to make sure that we're all on the same page, we all have the desired outcome for this city. And I too agree, the time has come for separation from the city. One person should not be controlling budget hats. We should be totally separate from now. I mean, I have other avenues and thoughts about what our future is. We said, probably after 20 years ago, I'm probably 8 years or less of absorbing city as a city. So that's what we're looking for as we go out to look for a new city manager. But I do also want to take time, but also this is important because I want to hear the consensus because we can't talk to each other. I want to hear consensus of what the members decide feel about our future. But I also do think the time is coming that we have a second person. It could be another firm, it could be somebody who solely just for our city. I also do agree that our internal staff, city council, the city clerks and other auditing and budgeting, I'm fine keeping that within the mark, separate from our city manager. But
And that team will take direction directly from the city manager who is solely local to the city.
Thank you, Mayor. I share much of what you've had to say, but I have a little different opinion on some of the
Perspective.
Yeah, number one, as far as the devoted to the city of Westlake, I agree with that. I think there shouldn't be any more of the wearing of two hats, although we need to recognize and instruct whoever the new city manager is that we do have a symbiotic relationship with Sid. And going forward, there need to be a lot of coordination. We can't overlook the fact that somewhere down the road, Sid will be part of the city council. In terms of hiring a new city manager, I agree. But I feel what we should do is first look at some services from recruiting firms so that they can review and scrutinize applications for city manager, and so that they can give us their best recommendation objectively and independently, so that council feels comfortable with their recommendations in terms of candidates. And then it would be up to the council to determine which of those, of that candidate pool would be best to serve the city of Westlake. I also agree that we should amend our agreement with Infomar as it relates to provision of a city manager, but I put a little hold on that for a moment, and I'll explain why. I'm not convinced that we can hire a city manager that we're going to be living with for many years in the future. In the remaining time, we have a month to do that.
No, that's why we need an intern.
And we need an interim. And Infomart is on contract right now to give us some candidates to be an interim. We can choose to go with them, or we can look elsewhere, and maybe we should do the same thing. But advertising for an interim may not be the best solution. Having advertising for a full-time city manager would be my preference. But I'm open to listening and hearing from prospective interim candidates. But back to the Infomart agreement, I have some additional concerns beyond just the carving out of the city manager provision. I too talked with the city manager weeks ago. I asked him, how much are you running the city of Westlake, from the city of Westlake? And my intent was to find out how much time our city manager, Mr. Capital, spends on a weekly, monthly basis, so I can get a better sense of what we can expect of our new city. The response was, I'm similar to what you heard. I work for a private company, and I don't have to tell you that, it's not necessary. So I then asked for Infomar to provide me with an invoice for the last 2 months for Infomar. It took 10 days for me to get that. I was surprised, but I learned through that process that we don't keep anything in-house. Accounts payable is not handled anywhere in our office here, but with Infomar. But even if it was with Infomar, why would it take 10 days for me to get that? But I did get it. And well, I don't know if the rest of the council is aware of this. We know that the city manager's agreement provides an annual fee of, I think it's $280,000. There are additional contracts for our city clerk, et cetera, with staffing. We don't own any of the computers in the office. We only lease the photocopy machines. We don't have any control over the telephones. That's all Infomart. The website is all Infomart. So what's the point of this discussion? The invoice, well, and let me just add, since I didn't get 2 months invoices, I then asked Zoe if she would request from Infomart the remaining 11 months going back, so I can see what the annual is. Regardless, I didn't get that. So the one invoice I have for Infomart covers city manager, city clerk, website, and other associated responsibilities. That's just short of $89,000 a month. If you calculate that out, that's about $1.1 million a year for the city of Westlake, without us knowing any details. So those are all annual contracts split into 12 equal payments. There's absolutely no transparency, and we don't really get any written accountability. So I would ask that we not only look at carving out that part of the contract, but review the contract, maybe go out to bid for other companies, but for nothing less than ending up with a contract with a company, Infomart or a similar one, where there's more accountability and transparency to what we're paying for. So that covers that. And And yeah, and that covers my concern.
I got slightly different information. I was told that the car out was 183,000 for that city.
I don't know.
Listen,
I don't know. I'm looking for the information. I'm not getting that.
I don't disagree with you. We need to look at more transparency, more accountability across the board. I think in the short term, we got to replace the city manager.
Absolutely.
And again, I'll reiterate, I'd like somebody who is not going back this way. I'd like somebody who can be holding solely to the city. And can get the interest.
I'm in agreement on that, but I'm also suggesting that we look at a recruiting firm to screen those.
I don't disagree for I want to take our time and do the whole process for who's going to be our city manager for that. I don't think we need to hire a recruiting firm for an interim. Maybe hire somebody that's going to be here for 3 to 6 months. Keep the machine moving.
I heard you earlier,
Um,
but you're asking for opinions. And
yeah, no, you're too robust search. But we'll consider robust. That includes our recruitment firm and the Hudson was not recommended.
Yes. I am in the agreement that obviously they have to be separate from the city. I think we're at that point now, the whole getting too complex, and getting too big. And at this point, I think that they just need to be separate. I do not want to rush the process. I do think in municipal operations, there's a difference between an acting and an intern. I think going through the whole process to find an intern and actually evaluate that intern to be just or good for the city for 3 to 6 months, we may want to look at a different perspective and just name it acting and we only go through it once for the real city manager. Because it may be a waste of money, it may do it time, it may be something where we could actually go through the process once as opposed to going through it twice, naming an internal acting city manager for the time being. I've seen it done in other municipalities. Believe me, the city has not burned down to the ground and not gone away, and it's still up and running in those areas. So it can function with an acting city manager. So those are some of the things that I was thinking about. I'm not opposed to looking for a different firm for the city manager. I think that's probably our best option. We keep it separate from Infomark. I do like the idea of keeping Infomark with the other functions within the city. But I do think that we should evaluate a different perspective on the intern versus acting, and try to think of it. I know I've spoken to the city manager, I've spoken to city attorney, and I do believe that we may have someone that possibly is interested in doing the acting, that's not interested in the full-time job. So if we do go the acting route, that may benefit us in the way. If we go the intern route, I think we really need to make sure that that intern is not interested in the full city.
Can you explain the acting and interim?
Acting, which is hold the responsibilities and commensurates with with the position, anything that the city manager could do, the acting could do. It's just not a formal title. It's just a holdover until we find the actual.
So
full acting.
acting.
If an intern was brought in from outside, acting is from the inside.
I would want, personally, I would want the acting to be in the it's time, it's month, it's the direction.
I get that, but I think to keep the boat steering straight and keep it afloat, having that foundational knowledge of our institution in Armont right now. And I don't think we have enough time to find an intern that can get in here and train in the time to keep that boat steering straight. That's my opinion, but that's just how it works.
We haven't heard from Councilwoman Lennon yet, so thank you.
Thank you. So I agree a lot with what has already been said, but I think I would have liked to hear from Infomark what exactly are the options that you
We're
can.
gonna like the,
So I like the idea of an interim for the city. I have some concerns about us bringing in a new interim temporary manager today with the budget going in place. We have 6 months, we have elections. I think we're at a critical point for us to bring in someone from the outside that does not already know our city. So I'm on board definitely with an interim or a temporary person holding the seat until we do a thorough, and I agree, a thorough recruiting effort to decide who we want to be that city manager. Is it gonna be somebody with Infomart? Is it a new company? I like the idea of us looking at a new potential contracted company that can do it, or even an independent person. But what scares me with that is, they need to have their own liability insurance. We need to be able to pay them for it. What is that gonna cost us as a city? Those are things that we're not prepared to answer right now today, and I think having an interim is gonna give us time to know what we don't know. We've had this company for 2017 to now. This is all the city has known. So I think we need to take our time and ask some questions before we make any drastic changes. So I think, again, having maybe an interim through Infomart will just help us, as you say, clear the vote right now. And maybe we pick it for 90 days. Our agreement says, give them 90 days and they have it.
If I may, unless we elevate Zoe, which is an option, anybody that we bring in from Infomart is gonna be brand new to the city.
Well,
But I think,
I know for a fact, Infomart was interviewing some people, and I got calls from everywhere in the county saying, watch out for certain people.
but they have.
So anybody who comes in from the blue is gonna be a brand new person.
That's true, but I think Infomart is there to guide them. They need somebody to say, this is what the structure that, we are so different from any city in Palm County. So people are gonna come in and they don't want to do what they're doing in West Palm. They want to do what they're doing in Lake Worth. And I think we need Infomart, even if it's 90 days, I say 6 months, but even if it's, this agreement says we gotta give them 90 days anyway. So we can't do anything without first.
No, they're not
doing
making an
I don't,
contract, they're keeping their services. We just need to amend the contract.
we can amend the contract, I understand that, but this is just my thing. I think for the jump now and go back, I think it's not giving us an opportunity as a council to make the best decision. That's my opinion. I do think we need to amend the contract. I think we need to separate it. Do I believe we need to go outside and get an independent person to bring to run the city? I'm not sold on it. I don't know. Maybe it is the best option. I don't have enough information sitting here for the last 3 or 4 years to say that that's going to be best for.
Vice Mayor?
Are you suggesting that we consider the candidates from our office?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a presentation.
On information, I would agree with that.
So, in full disclosure, I did approach Burgess, our city clerk, outside of Ken. She's our institutional knowledge. She knows code, she knows our paperwork, she knows everything about the city. And whoever comes in as the interim, or whoever's gonna be our manager, she's gonna be training that person anyway. So for me, 90 day, maybe, we do elevate Zoe, because she's our institutional knowledge, and she really runs all of it.
if I could add to that too. From my view, when it's in, Zoe's not interested in the position. She wants to keep her city clerk position. She's, in my eyes, more than capable of handling the acting position of the city manager. And I think she is, has that foundational knowledge, institutional knowledge that she can carry us to final.
So I will say that, obviously, I made it very clear, my first choice is somebody who doesn't work for Infomart. But listening to the rest of my colleagues on the council, my only choice would be our like Zoe Burgess. And I'll also add, I think we have to give her the difference in pay.
Wait a second. I think you're on the board. Number one, we just heard that Zoe may not even be interested. Well,
Oh, yes.
We're not talking about long term.
I'm not sure about that either. Didn't you just say? No,
First of all, not.
But not pretty heavy.
You're actually, yeah. You want to know how to go? Yeah. I think if we do have to stick with Infomart, it should be somebody who is intimately involved with the city, not somebody vetted by them to come in temporarily and run the city. If, if, again, my preference is not, but if it is going to be Infomart, I would suggest that we do elevate Zoe, who might have had the conversation with. He did say that if we called on her, she would rise to that occasion. It's not short term, ownership. We're ready.
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't aware that that was on this agenda tonight, and that's why I believe you were out of order.
But it's a discussion based on how we're gonna fill the seat. It is the only thing. I mean,
And you said we're going to hear from Infomart, and I presume that would include some of the names of others that they would be.
I would not presume to let him.
Well, but that's the point. We haven't heard from them. That's why I'm saying, talking about one particular person at this point, I think is premature.
Well,
Nonetheless, you brought it up. No disrespect to Ms. Burgess. I think she's been doing a wonderful city clerk job. She's not a city manager. She's not experienced as a city manager. If issues come up in this interim period, are we going to be able to rely on the advice that our interim city manager, who doesn't have city manager experience, provide us and give us the guidance? I don't know. I suspect not. That's my feeling, because she doesn't have that broader city manager experience. She has an election to deal with coming up very soon. She's going to have her hands full with that. So for those reasons, I would prefer for the moment to hear from Infomart. Do they have other candidates? Could we see from them a possible interim? Because I agree. I think we're in need of someone on an interim basis. So I think there's agreement on that part of it. But in terms of focusing in on one candidate at this point, I think is premature.
Okay.
For the benefit of those present, we put in legal context. You have a notice of vacancy, you do not have a vacancy. It's sort of all, it's what September was, September 26th. Okay. So you don't have a position to fill until 26th. So you've got time, council meeting. You're not gonna make the decisions. You can't. There's no action. Discussion is very robust. You may want to consider many cities do that on a regular basis. Or you could do an RFP and see your own candidates. But you would have to go through the whole 40, 50 applicants yourself.
I think we should wait for the funding process.
So, but if you wish to further acting an interim city manager, in either case, you require an amendment to the contract with it. If you want to bring somebody to the inside, you have to negotiate that with you. Because presently we have an agreement that cannot be terminated by the city for at least 90 days. So respectfully, I think you're kind of short-term basis. An amendment may be something you wish to discuss amongst yourselves and consider with a temporary fix. And then going with a separate position of city manager, that too would require an amendment.
Thank you, Counselor. Let's hear from Infomart.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So if you said,
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's an address for the record.
Chris Curry's, resident of the Office and Services, friend of Mark, Houston, Texas, we're currently back. So I appreciate the opportunity to address, the council with you, thank you for that. Let me start off by saying, Thank you. We're very, I think, from that standpoint. I've had conversations, we've had a couple of conversations individually with people. First of all, let me apologize for delaying being able to see you. I don't know what's it delayed. From my standpoint, related to a lot. So apologize for that. You know, Ken, as I've said before, is a bit of a unicorn with his experience and his ability as 37 years in city management, district management, to be able to do that. We agree with you that there was a time, you know, where it made a lot of sense, you know, continue to grow. We've had discussions in the past about this, and with Ken, you know, submitting his retirement, you know, it's 100% our alignment to different roles. Anyway, if the council decides that they want to, you know, amend it and carve out the three units, we don't have a problem with that. We'll help you in the search if we can, when it comes to that. So that's not a sticking point for us whatsoever. I think there is definitely an opportunity to update the agreement. It's 10 years old, coming up on 10 years old, to provide some clarity into that, whether it's more transparency, whatever it may be. Don't have a problem with that at all. What you're going to find is we'll be a very willing partner to collaborate with you in this process, whatever the council decides to do. In the interim, right, our intention, or at least to present, Zoe and I have had conversations about her desire and willingness to step up in this interim process for however long it may be, like 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days, or however long. She has the experience, I believe, the ability to do so. We've confirmed that there is no conflict of interest between the clerk and the city manager or singing those roles. We've been building a strong team behind her to be able to support with the elections coming up. So she's very aware of that pending coming up too. So the ability to navigate all that, feel confident that we'll be able to do that. So that's what the first thing we would present. Obviously, it's most familiar with with that city to be able to step into that role for. Excuse me. We had some other conversations, not knowing what the direction of the council will be. We needed to be prepared. So we've been conducting several interviews for the city manager role that have applied. Ken's conducted several qualified candidates. Again, I could share whether it says in turn, absolutely. And this is not a decision we would make in a vacuum anyway. The point of the we were going to get to this and do something interesting that presents the candidates and how it's here. Well, if you guys decide you want to make sure that if you want to do that internally, how are we going to do it? We're actually be a part of the process, separate part of the process, but we acknowledge the fact that we just want to be a part of the process from that standpoint. So we've also had some other conversations with a different candidate on the interim basis, and we're going to discuss about. But other than that, so we would obviously be the first person against the knowledge of you guys. Ken is also committed to being available to us, during a time period. So the concern or the failure doesn't have the experience that you need that certain issue or something like that, and is definitely available to her during that time as well to be able to guide her on that path. You're correct on the total amount in the budget of the city manager services that we whatever that happen to be. The number I gave you is specifically for the city manager, but that also includes some administrative positions as well within that total number. So the 183 is specifically for the city manager role as it stands today, which is not 100% committed, right? Obviously, that's you find out what you probably know better than anybody. What kind of the going rate is out of her taking. But what we did do and is put additional money into the budget for 2026, whether it was going to be an assistant city manager or a government services position, knowing that this is likely moving towards a full-time city manager. So there is money in the current proposed budget to be able to support full-time dedicated.
Questions? Thank you for your presentation. So you're looking at one candidate besides Zoe for interim purposes? Is that what it is? Is that it?
For the interim part?
Yeah.
Yes, we haven't done an exhaustive search on it. We got to wait until we have this, the discussions.
Do you advertise or how do you?
We have advertised for the city manager role. Yep. We got.
For the interim or for full time?
No, we did not, because the interim was not necessarily what we were, local.
Right, right.
So that's, kind of a twist. We could absolutely do that, but we have not posted our interim city manager.
Right.
We have. Yeah.
Okay. Would you have more candidates for an interim?
I assume there would be more people applying than we would sort through.
And how long would that take?
Not really sure, because it's gonna be the same process is what I would say. It's gonna take some time. We can filter through and get some candidates in the pipeline for the council consideration, but we're not gonna, I wouldn't want to hire them in the vacuum. Without somebody taking a look at them beside them.
Well, right, we want to
Right.
meet with that person.
Sure.
With those candidates. But let's just say we found an interim candidate or a candidate from Infomar that we would see as a possible interim. And maybe after a period of time, we may feel comfortable with them. Could they then be carved out of the Infomar agreement and make a regular contract with the city?
Logistically, yes, it would be up to the individual whether they want to get over. So,
Without,
but from my standpoint, from Infmark's standpoint,
with no penalty.
no, I don't know.
Okay, thank you. I had asked a month or two ago, Zoe, for a list of the contracts that we have with Infomar. And the ones that I saw, I counted up on an annual basis, counted up to 588,000 annually. So I want to understand how it is that we go from that. I might be missing some contracts, but how we go from that 588,000 to over $1 million in terms of actual invoicing. Can you help me understand that?
I would, and I will. I don't know that I can answer without knowing what contract you have received, but what I can do is do it and go back and getting the information and the funds. Because I don't know that they're all being used or not, or in that.
Yeah.
But,
City manager wants to-
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, and Councilman Morgan. If you look at the contracts, section 4.2 compensation, they said for each fiscal year in the city, the compensation payable to the manager under the terms and conditions of this agreement shall be an amount approved in the city's fiscal year budget. Each fiscal year budget approval by the city may consider the price adjustment to compensate for market conditions and anticipated type and amount of work performed by the manager during the upcoming fiscal year. So that every budget year, the line items in the budget are approved by you, total the amount of the contract. Now, prior to your arrival and several of the other council, the prior council required that we modify the budget to look like everybody in the city. That's not what we are, but we comply. So we divided up the budget. Put some dollars in city manager, put some dollars in city clerk, put some dollars in here, put some dollars there. Because that's what they wanted to look like every other city. Prior to 2019, the budget had a line item that said basically on expenditures, administration, contract services, X dollars, which covered the scope of service. Our council required that it got changed. I would suggest that we go back to that same style budget that we used to have, because it's actually more transparent than what we were forced to do by a prior time. And it would answer your questions because you would be at one line and would say, what am I paying for contract services? Here's what it was last year. Here's what is proposed to be this year, 3%. I'm good with the 3%. We're done.
Thank you for that explanation. I think that's helpful, but wouldn't it be just as simple to stay with the budget format that you have now, but then add one last page at the end that just tallies it all up?
Go for it. Transparency is the issue.
Yeah,
Exactly for me.
Yeah. That way, then you can look at it from two different perspectives.
You could have it in a separate format, but it would not be as part of the budget. The budget document
So it could be part of the staff report has nothing, but Mayor, please.
Yeah. Let's stay on track in terms of, what we're gonna do in terms of the interim city manager, how we're gonna do this process, and what are some issues. That's what we're
Just a question, Mark. As a company, do you have staff that move around from city to city, and I want to say interim staff, but as an organization, you staff cities, so I guess.
None of the, yeah, we don't have,
Mobile.
yeah, it's a travel between, especially this role. The, what I would also, and you've spoken about a bit earlier, which would be, I would agree that there'll be at least an amendment on, even on the interim process, it's still filling the gap, there will be money coming back to the city for all that there's no anything or position, it's always steps up in multiple roles. I think there's still a city. But I just, you know, I would expect a lot. I know it wasn't specifically said, that,
And that being said, if we do elevate our clerk on the interim basis, I would expect her to be paid according as well. There's a gap between the clerk's job and the city manager's job. I would expect nothing less than this body to award her. But whatever that difference is, you know.
But we have the order that we can-
yeah, we,
Right.
so in that,
Which is what the fun.
we're,
It's what the fun. It should be.
Number one, we don't know, yes, but we're under a contract with Infomart. So that's, Zoe is with Infomart. Can you bring us candidates in the next couple of weeks?
for city manager,
Yeah.
we have a couple that we can show you tomorrow.
One
You
week.
know, so yeah, you can look at it, doesn't mean you have to
So here's my concern, and I'm just speaking candidly. If we're gonna go through the process of looking at resumes and looking at, vetting potential candidates that Infomart brings us for city manager, why don't we just do that on our own outside of Infomart?
Because we wouldn't finish the process quickly enough to cover the interim.
Is right, it's never in the contract, like this.
Please clear.
Yeah, we are, but the contract can be amended at any point in time. So if there was carve out or if there was an adjustment that needs to be made to pricing based on an adjustment in staff or something for responsibilities, it's not staff based, it's a scope based contract. But if we were to carve out a certain portion, anything specific to city manager, then there would be.
Infomart is being a very, very amenable, they're not holding us hostage. So we're gonna hire an interim, then let's hire an interim. If not, that's the point.
About.
I agree.
So we need,
But we don't need, we don't need that person to report to this. They can report to us. They can be beholden to us. It's very our. Well,
How's that positive work when it comes to us? I think
it's interesting one. Listen, just because I just did this for the last month, I hired an executive director role. And many of those candidates were actual city managers previously. We can have 10 applications to us by the end of the week, interviews that I would love for the council to consider. They went through an exhaustive search for Richard's key people. One of them's a current city manager, one of them's a permanent interim city manager.
Let me clarify. So how do the applications go then to Zoe? She sends them all out to us. We look at
I would think so.
the steps of what does that process look like? Because
I would.
we don't want to. Again, I'm just trying, again.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to
Yes.
hold it in. What you're talking about is trying to do it, but you're going to bury Zoe and staff, and it's wrong. It's flat out wrong. You need to find somebody like a Colin Basinger or
Dave, I forget his last, you know, strategic government resource, the GMS. I don't know, do you still do recruiting or you do? You know, Dale's out there.
Yeah.
Okay. You need somebody like that to be your point person.
Yes, that was my
To
choice.
pull that data in. Just sit through and say, yeah, these guys, we don't want to be within 1,000 miles of. These guys are okay with 25 miles. These 10 people are like, yeah, you can have them in your bedroom. You know, probably wrong terminology. But
We should do it.
We have to hire somebody to help us to do that. I think that's.
As we show up with a permanent city manager position.
Right.
But we have a more important issue at the moment, that we lose our permanent city manager at the end of the month. So we need to focus on this interim position. I want to take 6 months, if it takes 6 months, to hire our permanent city manager. But I think we need to talk about the interim, please.
The process of even hiring an intern is going to be longer than 30 days. So at this point, I don't know if we really do have many options other than to either look at what Infomart is proposing as possible interim, or even, I think at this point, our best option is on the table, what we can stuff, but we can't really action. I'm just saying, at this point, an intern, by the time we all vet them and actually interview them.
keep in mind, we're going to negotiate the contract.
So the negotiating on contract is only probably
So I was thinking, on the voice.
3 months.
So would anybody be opposed to having our city clerk be acting while we hire me?
But why would we do that when we only have maybe another 3 months and we can have a permanent?
That's what, that would be my.
I get it, but I think instead of rushing into it, let's make sure we do it right.
It's a process to hire a head of.
Yes.
At that time, you know, at least you're gonna advertise, you're gonna interview the candidates. So add another 30 days.
So, so let's just say hypothetically, we promote. So for a certain amount of time, she still has resources for Infomart. If there's something she's not aware of or keen on, she can ask those questions.
Yeah.
But Infomart has an army behind it as well to assist if that needs be. But I mean, outside of, she knows all the codes and everything else. But I just wanted to.
And Ken is agreeable to being a consult to Joe, so, correct? Did I hear that?
Oh, to me.
I've agreed with Chris, with Infomart, that on any of the contracts that I'm in, any things I can currently, that I'm available by phone over a period of time to answer questions, bring people up to speed, to solve, you know, provide insight, and understanding of what has happened.
And I'm only looking for, this is like a month, 2 month thing as we try to figure this out.
And it could only be
3 months to find it's 4 months.
As soon as we're done,
At least we go. City's best interest to have a city manager that is open solely to the city.
we're only reading them now. Yes.
We just went through a strategic planning process. That person was a former city manager. We all dealt with that person. Is that, I don't even know if that person is interested. Oh, yeah, it's right here. Without knowing what that person's answer is, would the council be agreeable to at least hearing from that person as a possible interim candidate?
Absolutely, I wouldn't have any opposition to hearing from Dr. Sugarman. And I'm very, very quite fond of Dr. Sugarman. But I have been on this council for almost 6 years. And every time the city has ever needed a consultant or a strategic planning or anything of the sort, it has gone to Dr. Sugarman without RFP, without any other options. And I certainly don't want my city manager to be jetting down my feet. For lack of better word. It has always gone to Dr. Sugarman. Dr. Sugarman, and is synonymous with Infomart. It's more of the same. I'm looking to not have more of the same. I want an independent, own the city manager.
Looking options that this council may want.
I'm expressing my opinion. And we are absolutely here from
But
him.
we heard your opinion. We heard it.
Well, now, this is now my opinion on appointing Dr. Sugarman.
I'm not talking about appointing him. I was talking about hearing from him as a potential candidate if he's even interested. I don't know that he's interested. But you're excluding options.
I'm not excluding, I'm expressing my personal opinion.
Well,
And expressing the logic behind it. Every time the city has ever needed anything for an outside consultant, it has always gone to Dr. Sugarman. There has never been once an RFP. There's never been anybody else considered.
Mayor, you said, so you hired someone for the board.
We haven't heard them. I've got a short list of 3 names, 2 strong names. It's gonna go to a board of 15 people. They will make the decision.
So it's not your decision, it's the board's decision. That's not how it's done. I'm probably the one who said what you said.
Well, we can prove it, obviously. Not my decision. I have
Okay, I want to.
I have an executive committee of 2 other people, the 3 of us have gotten the short list, which will.
Right, okay, so you're on a team.
Right.
You're on a team on this board as well.
I agree. I think it should be. It's a nobody. Sit down. We can hear from anybody that's what board wants to hear. I'm still gonna express my opinion.
We hired Dr. Sugarman twice for the city. Your intonation that Dr. Sugarman is tied to Infomart, I take great offense to. We brought him on board based upon a piggyback of an RFP from another city. It was presented to the council as a piggyback. Council accepted the individual. Both times it was the same situation. So to intimate that the manager or whoever from Infomart chose somebody without their council's input is incorrect. And I take great offense.
Well, you can take offense, but I've been on the council.
But you voted to say yes. And
We agreed with
we agreed to say,
but only one name was presented.
because we found piggyback, I found people that would do the job at a reasonable price.
We
that
can,
I-
we can disagree, your opinion is not. It's
It was fine.
What would this board like to do?
I would like to hear Infomark's candidate proposal. And I'm willing to meet on a weekly basis between now and the 26th, or even quicker than that. I'm open to that flexibility.
Mr. Westman, what's your opinion?
I would like to get a little bit of consensus, but we have 2 meetings next week. We have more than 72 hours notice, so we can either add this to the agenda of either next Tuesday's meeting or close the budget meeting on Wednesday and have another special meeting following, just so we can keep on this dialogue.
Let me be clear, I really like Dr. Sugarman, a lot. To be perfectly clear. I respect the man very much. I'm looking for an outside.
Sorry,
No, please.
what I would just ask, and you're happy to continue to interview candidates, but I'd like some direction from the council as soon as possible. They don't take disparage the candidates to give them, lead them on in one direction, when we're gonna go in a direction, it's not gonna be an option for them. It's something, so, again, it's great for you guys to get it on the agenda for next week and have an opportunity to make at least a decision which direction we're gonna go. We're happy to keep interviewing, no problem at all, but in fairness to the candidate, I want to make sure that.
Are you talking candidates that are outside of the Infomark staffing today? Or do you have someone within Infomark? Or is it
I'm
both?
talking about outside.
Another interim or?
This week,
No, not the interim.
the interim, but yeah, we would propose, that's the best option. So that would be our number one option. We have also had conversations with another outside party for an interim, who might be interested, and the other candidates have been for the city manager role for us to fill. But again, happy to share those documents with the council, so look at tomorrow to take a look at, maybe nothing with, something with, whatever you want to do. Anything to do the search, to do that, but again, I think it's in everybody's best interest that we do something simultaneously, right? And so there's clarity for the team, our internal team, as well as.
Is it possible, maybe even likely, that we might find an interim that the council is very comfortable with, that might want to make them full-time city manager, that we could then carve out of the Lamar agreements?
I have not, I can't speak to what the candidates would feel about it, the ones that are probably to, but the ones that talking about specifically for now would not be interested probably long term. Deal on that. The other candidates, I haven't even talked to them about on an interim basis and then move to a long term deal. So again, I please speak to the candidates and have spoken to them directly about that option. The one we've been very clear about.
Can we poll the council and ask if they would be amenable to elevating Zoe on an acting basis? Because if we're gonna do a search for a period, then let's do a full search. You know, somebody as an acting city manager, somebody who's employed by Infomart, either way, I would rather be the person who is be involved in the city. Not principal. You can't say.
I want to make it very clear, everybody knows, there's no vote.
Yes, there's no vote. I said poll, as in get the opinions of each one of my.
You can reach a consensus, but I would ask, take your time, simmer down, and place something on the agenda
Yes.
for the next meeting.
So question for you, Mr. Curry. We have two meetings next week. One is a regular council meeting on Tuesday.
Right.
Budget hearing, first budget hearing Wednesday.
Correct.
Is it appropriate for us to one, add it to the Tuesday agenda, a regular council agenda, or would it be permissible to close out the budget meeting when we finish that, whenever that concludes, then start a special meeting or another meeting for just this?
The answer is you can do either one.
Okay.
Procedurally, we can place something on the agenda for the next meeting, we can, and the supplemental
It
agenda.
might give us time to think about it, hold this over.
If you want, I haven't finished.
Okay.
That would be normal regular meeting. If you want to take the subject matter up on Wednesday, you would have to do another special meeting. So you would open your budget here, you would close it, and then you would open up the second special meeting with an agenda.
I would,
would action.
one would like to pass consensus of adding it to Tuesday's agenda, our regular council meeting agenda, as the last item.
Well, hold on. We've stuff to hear from the public. We've got plenty of stuff before we reach any kind of consensus. That being said, please.
Can we possibly, maybe reach out to some of these firms just to see what it would cost maybe for them to go out and recruit a city manager? Maybe, our current city manager could actually help us in just getting a baseline proposal on what it would cost. So we have an idea of what it's gonna cost the city at that meeting, upcoming meeting, and what that process would look like.
Yeah, and I recommend, I can do that anyway. It's permanent.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, like I'm.
We can start the process now. It's gonna take us a long time to hire the perfect person. I want to do a robust search. I want to do a robust search. I don't want to rush it. Which means recruiters or headhunters or.
Right, but if we get that one, what it's.
In the meantime, we have this pressing issue of emergency.
Right, but we're gonna put that on the agenda, so it's sort of Tuesday, but then we also get that.
Right, and we're gonna reach a hopefully let's listen to the public and their opinions on the matter. They did help shape our thoughts and wishes. I appreciate you so much for saying. Oh, we're gonna the public comment. We skipped it in the beginning. I thought it was circle back. Open up the public comment now.
We have a public comment card from Mr. Richard Weber.
Whether
It's Richard Weber, 15950 Camden. Much of what I had written up for us, but I'll be coming to present discussion. During the comments you mentioned that the Central Improvement District will become, SID, become part of the city. There's much information, lack of information among the residents about SID. Full explanation of what SID is will become an organization, what its responsibilities are, who its members are, and its relationship to the city of Westlake should be disseminated to all Westlake residents for the sake of party. Although this can't be done tonight, this should be done through email, Westlake magazine, or some appropriate format. Because right now, it should reserve future friction. Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Raymond.
Good evening, Councilwoman Leonard, Vice Mayor, Landowski, Mayor O'Connor, Councilman Warner, and Councilman Cruz. Thank you guys for having the nicest little city around. I mean, I moved into Westlake 2 years ago. And I have to tell you, I love this. I really, really do. And Ken, thank you for your almost 10 years of service. As to what we're talking about here, I think it's important that we change the charter, the city charter, allowing us to have our own city manager, who answers to no one but us. And I agree with the mayor that that is critically important. Having a background in business, I tend to look at everything from that perspective, and that's a fault of mine, probably. In order to get the best productivity out of a subordinate or a member of your team, they have to be part of your team. I mean, that's kind of a given. That's how it works in the world. As to what we pay, according to the budget, we pay $1,103,054 according to the budget. I personally think that it's crazy that we don't have a very clear view of what we're paying. Infomark is a for-profit company. We expect that they're going to earn a profit for what they do. But as the people paying freight, we have a right to know how much we're paying for the work and how much we're paying for the work. So from that point of view, I think we have to, everything has to be a little bit more transparent. We need to know things. I think we should contact other companies to provide personnel as similar to Infomark, headhunters. I think we have a lot of options, and I think that we have to avail ourselves of everything that's available. The city manager job, in my opinion, should be the city manager and said 2 people. I don't think it should any longer be the same person. And since my time's up, thank you for listening.
The good news is we don't have to go down the charter. Charter actually states that it can be an individual or a firm.
Oh, okay.
So we can do everything. Please. Do we have any other comment cards? Sorry.
We do not, Mayor.
I'm not, there. 5991 with the little circle, and, thank you. First of all, thank you for taking the time to ask for all of that. I feel, the real issue is Intermark. I'm very concerned about when you found out about the lack of accountability, knowing that the money is going. As far as finding an intern or permanent, I agree with, our mayor that we need to be independent. That I think everybody agrees with. As far as finding the intern, Chloe is available and capable.
Zoe.
Sorry. Then that's easy enough. But one thing I would say in finishing, we do have, city manager task. It's only an intern. We haven't listened. Just get his input on what to do in the transition. He's done a lot of work for us. He's done a great job. I do agree, in my opinion, and I think the opinion of many in the community, there's a conflict of interest. Our mayor's 100% right. As far as finding a headhunter, sending to this headhunter, get our manager's input. Put all your energy into finding the permit. That's what we need to put our energy. And the second energy, it seems to me, if someone tells me they don't know the money's going, I'll be looking into that company as well. I wish they would. So thank you for doing that, and hopefully one day soon we will also have a say in the city. All right? Thank you.
Do we have any other public comment? What? I'm sorry, your hand go up. There's a Flores here. I always confuse you guys. There's always a Flores. Yeah, there is.
Alicia Torres, 584 Girls Circle. Thank you guys for being so comprehensive about all of these discussions. Really appreciate it. I'm elated to see that everybody's on board, breaking up the positions to roles. I had a 3-minute, 30-second speech about that, so I'm glad that yeah, so I did want to say hi, Zoe. I've talked to her, I've known her for at least 5 years at this point. She's completely steadfast, dependable, sharp, and I know you have these things, but I can tell you how many meetings the city manager has to look to her when he's unsure about something or needs to follow up on something else. She's the go-to already. Yeah, that's it. Or so I completely believe that she would see lots of people in the position if she wants, you know. So I think ideally Westlake to go, and then I, you know, for the 90 days that it's contractors, but then I also get, you know, after a very thorough search, you know, position. And so that's it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Torres. Quick with the introduction. Survived off the 4829 St. Albans Way. Obviously, this is a mountainous task here. Ken is leaving. I'm going to be a man of integrity. I'm sorry, you know, that he's leaving, but I wish him the best wherever he's going. As far as Zoe, she wants the job, but she may lack as a manager. The knowledge of what's going on in the city supersedes everything. And as long as she has Ken to dial up that number, I think it's a no-brainer. We put her in as long as she wants. What I don't understand is you're talking about separating from Infomar. Why are you asking them to find your next manager?
Yeah.
So if it goes wrong, you turn around and say, well, you did it. So it makes no sense. Hire an interim, find your manager, keep that woman in there. Again, somebody with integrity if she wants the job, and let her do what she has to do here until then. And I'd also like to know, should Zoe take that position, who's going to fill her shoes as a city clerk? Well, it wasn't explained, but I want to know that that was going through those. So keep on keeping on. I think she's an interim. Forget it from on, find them on your own. This way, if it goes wrong, you blame yourselves. Ms. Campbell?
Jackie Campbell, 52206. I enjoyed Thursday, what we said, and what I said also. And I think we should, maintain our income, because as they say, sit down, and she be living for a while, the city inside of. So, if she wants, and if she wants to take it to a family, we should give her an equal opportunity to, interview for it. The second thing I have to say, the meeting. I mentioned before, when it comes to meetings, people feel work, so work is, right? Yeah, we're carrying with work. And the meeting should start at 7:06. The reason is we are part of the Far West. And people coming, I just came from meeting Far West. That way, it takes a while to rush with it. So I think, it takes time, it takes people work. So the next meeting, which we're planning, I think we should attach this meeting, the special meeting, the second meeting, the first meeting, and come to encourage people to come to that second meeting.
Any other public? comment? No. We're gonna go back to council and continue our robust discussion on how we're gonna fill this interim managership.
Maybe possible, I hate to put her on the spot, but even if she would like to give a couple minutes to us, to say, hey, is she interested in maybe a little bit?
I think it's a splendid idea. Madam Clerk, only if you wish, let us know. While we find an interim or a permanent.
Mayor, Council, first of all, I want to say thank you for the consideration. I want to thank everybody in the audience that has confirmed, clap, thank you for your time. I have expressed, I'm interested, first and foremost, government is always in my heart. I believe in continuity of government, and I've learned the inside and out of Westlake. Ken has been an amazing teacher. I've worked very closely with him. He's always been open about what's been going on, so I do feel that I'm aware of what's happening in the city, and I can continue that. It's not something that I want on a permanent basis, I'm very clear. I do enjoy meeting with her, and so I'm here to support the council to the best of my ability. And I know where Ken is going. So I have to put it down, both my, I will do that. But I'm here to serve with you all, and that would be my ultimate goal. So I am interested, on a temporary basis, again, continuity of government. I've seen Westlake grow, and I want to continue to be part of that process.
There you go.
Request. Would see if there's consensus amongst the board members here, council, to see if we can agenda items Tuesday evening's agenda. Possibly entertain urgence or anybody else or any other ideas to the council. That as we maybe take the next couple of days and think about it a little bit more. Because I hate for the decision tonight. We have a meeting, but they also mentioned such arguments outside.
I mean, with the dialogue being open right now, obviously my first choice is somebody completely unrelated to me. I mean, but second choice would be highly our Madam Clerk. So please. That being said, I think we have enough to potentially reach a consensus. Now, we don't have to make a decision, but we're here, we're talking. Let's try to get a handle on what we're gonna do so we can move and groove.
We hear from Mr. Dr. Sugarman and see if he got his word. To the Vice Mayor's point, we want item on the agenda to be an amendment to the contract.
That should be an item. No matter
It would be an appointment of her.
No, it's keep this conversation. I don't want to wait another month.
Contract.
I couldn't agree more that Infomart should not be a process, should not be part of the process to hire Ken's replacement. As much as I appreciate and respect Infomart, we're gonna be making the decisions. The decision. Let's make the decision.
You're saying, don't even consider other candidates that didn't mark the agreement.
Well, we'll consider them if they bring them, but again, I'd rather be somebody that's not beholden to Infomart.
I agree with Mr. Mayor, but
You may.
I think what we're trying to get to is now, on Tuesday's meeting, I think the consensus is that we have an agenda item amending the contract with Infomart to provide us with a acting or interim city manager until we find a permanent solution.
Or,
Or
And if we vote on that, and then we need to find a company to
Yeah.
help us with
right.
our research.
And then Infomart would obviously take our guidance on who they choose. Moving forward.
sorry, like the last one.
So Infomart would take our consideration on who they choose if they're acting.
No,
No,
they offer us candidates,
Right.
right? Until we want to lie.
right. Okay, so they would.
We have gone for direction.
Correct.
We hear whether Dr. Sugarman has any interest.
I would love to hear from Dr. Sugarman. Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Truly, we have a promise.
And what is your background?
Dale Sugarman, Boynton Beach. If I may, with all due respect, I've only had 2 contracts with the city of Westlake, 2021, and most recently, strategic planning. I also had absolutely no relationship with Infomart. Now, I've never even talked to anybody from Infomart until Friday of last week.
I thought you were Zoe.
Jim,
I'm gonna get that.
Oh, okay, so.
So, Mr. DeRay called me on Friday to see if I had any interest in serving in from capacity. That is the first contact I've ever had with Infomart. So I also take exception to what you said about my guidance. Second thing I want to mention is I've known Zoe Burgess for over 20 years. I brought her local government. I think I was her first mentor, can I call it myself that?
Session.
She think she would make a perfect interim manager. Would have my highest recommendation. Now, since she's spoken before me and she's expressed an interest, I think it becomes no brainer. The only concern I have is that you may be putting too much on her for 60, 90, 120 days. Just be careful. It's fully capable, absolutely. But it may be a heavy burden for her, but she'll let me know that. Okay, she'll do fine. So she collapses. The third thing I want to say is, and I think it was Councilman Gleason, it was Councilman Werner. I can tell you what it's going to cost to hire a headhunter. The least expensive in the state of Florida will charge you exactly $28,900 plus travel expenses, because that's what he does in every single firm that he contracts with. I can mention his name. He will not get my endorsement, but he will charge $28,900.
that's the least.
That's the least. And it's always the low ball. That firm gets selected a lot because of the $28,900 cost. A really good search will cost you between $35,000 and $45,000. Maybe as much as 50 plus expense. Expenses being travel of candidates, putting them up in a hotel, meals, those kind of.
I don't think I have anything else to say, except you can't work it out with Zoe. I'm available to help you in any way you would like.
Question?
Sure.
Dr. Sugarman, you know Westlake. You know how it's structured. Is Westlake a city that that an experienced city manager would seek for employment?
Yes. That's a better question.
All right.
Can you attract good quality candidates for permanent city manager as a direct hire of this with the current work environment responsibilities, a lot of things we talked about in the strategic planning process. Westlake is a little bit unique, not a little. Westlake is very unique. And so you were going to have to find the right city manager to fit with what Westlake is, does, will be in needs. So you got to hire the right recruitment program so that they can flush out on the right candidates. And the mayor said we got 233 overseeing the candidates for executive director position. That's unheard of.
Very, very strong.
All right, well, so that's good that you've got a short list now. You just have to be very careful because you're going to get all kinds of applicants. Who's going to be there? I have seen numerous when district managers for restaurant franchise believe they can be a good city manager because of their skill as a district manager for a restaurant. You're going to get all kinds of that stuff. So you will attract good candidates, but you see how difficult it was tonight in an hour and 20 minutes for you to get to this point. Just imagine if you get 60 or 70 or 80 applicants or 250 applicants for the permanent position. It's going to be, it'll try to be good, but you got to get the right consultant for who.
Dr. Sherman, I want to sincerely apologize. I think I lumped in one other time, one other occasion. Ken, wanted to attend stuff.
That was the other time. That was one of the two times.
I thought there was another time that you came for us.
No, sir.
Right on. But I apologize. I invented the whole time. Maybe because I like you so much. Nothing against you personally.
Apologies.
It's more just, I want to control our own destiny.
Apologies. Any other questions for me? Because my advice tonight is free.
What do you think you're going to make for city in a small city?
You're not a small city.
Well, what do you think the going rate for city manager? And I would assume the city of West Palm Beach has a different rate.
They don't even have they have a city administrator, the mayor's in charge.
Right. Mayor's strong.
Yeah. We're attract the right candidate here for Westlake. I believe they're going to have to pay close to $200,000. Correct. Yeah. I mean, you could probably do like a 180 to 200 plus benefits. Benefits are going to be a car, a computer, a phone, health insurance, life insurance, retirement contribution. Figure that will cost 28-30% whatever the salary is. So you can put 200,000 at 30%, saving that 260,000 cost. I believe that's reasonable for something city like Westlake.
to say. I appreciate it. We have any other questions? Dr. Sherman?
Yeah, you used to be a full-time position.
I am not. I'm retired. I am interested in helping Westlake in any way I can. I enjoyed the, planning process, enjoyed working with folks.
You should have paid us.
We enjoyed this.
And I have discussions about it. And I guess I'll wrap up reiterating that I support Zoe if she's willing and able and you help her through the process. Ken can help her through the process. Oh, one other quick thing about that. Throughout my career, my 42 years in local government, I've had a number of people that I have mentored and they've moved on to become city managers. And they all have my focus on CDOT. So I get questions from the folks that I've mentored over the years fairly regularly. And I do that for free too. So if Zoe's going to be it, I know she knows how to reach me. Thank you.
All right, so I think the consensus is you're gonna put this on the agenda for today. At the very least, we're gonna try to put this on.
Question of hiring for recruiting.
The meeting's gonna be in. Maybe not permanently, but we'll discuss that moving forward.
They continue all their stuff.
Okay, council comments. Councilwoman Lane.
No other comments, thank you. Enjoyed the conversation, I think we're on the right track, and I think we're gonna have some good results, so let's look forward to Tuesday's meeting.
Gleason.
I just wanted to reiterate and thank Karen for the past 9 years. You guided Westlake with foundational years, with steady leadership and deep commitment. Your institutional knowledge from the early days of cultivation of rural rapid growth has been valuable in shaping the city we are today. Ken's dedication, professionalism, and lasting quality role made change in the city actual main part of Westlake for 10 years. Proud of behalf of myself, my family, and my constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I too would like to thank Ken, who was a great professional, very honest and above board with me. I think he's done a very good job as a city manager under the criteria that he's working on. I want to thank everyone here for coming tonight. It's been a good audience. You provided good input and feedback, and that covers it for me.
So. That's fair.
I'm excited about our future as a city, but also say, thank you, Ken, and his guidance, and I've been on the council for 4 years now, and been a wonderful time to know him and his knowledge, but also all the hires he's had with our city, with our other staff that you don't always see. So I do thank him for that, and looking forward to see you next week.
One quick thing unrelated is I'd like, because September is Suicide Awareness Prevention Month. I'd like to introduce a proclamation on that with the council agrees. I'd also like to paint the city, light the city up in purple and teal the whole month of September. Those are the suicide prevention colors.
Did we get those lights fixed?
Hopefully we have the light mix. So are we all okay with that proclamation?
Yeah.
Yes. I also want to say, you know, I'll wait till next meeting to really get to it, but I don't like him. I love him. I genuinely mean that. With every ounce of my heart. I love you. You have a pain in your ass. You're a pain in my ass. And none of this could have been possible without you and steadfast leadership and being there answer my calls at 10 o'clock on a Sunday. And I don't know what you're getting into, but whatever it is, I'm sure you're going to amaze me at it. Sure you're getting that gold watch. Who knows? But thank you. And I'll love on you more. City,
Further details.
city. But, yeah, report.
Well, I'm not gonna say by the king, because he's got several meetings. Um, 2 points I'd like to make. One, given my experience over the course of 4 or 5 decades, as city attorney, I've been through this process. We've been to help you shepherd this to a point where you are totally satisfied with your decision. And you can finally go on. It's a policy decision. I will not interfere with that policy. I will just offer you the legal guidance to make sure you provide your determined destination. Second of all, Zoe has she got it. I would report working with her. I support her to make sure the transition is smooth and efficient as possible.
Not a lot of things, one of the things I would suggest that if you haven't, you want to know more about Sid, if you haven't read the history of Westlake on the website, read it. That's a good place to start. It gives the whole history of where things started. There's also a video on Westlake now and beyond, that you might want to look at as well. It's on the website. So the information is out there. What is Sid, where is Sid, where we came from. I suggest that you go ahead and read that if you see it. Secondly, as I stated earlier, I've committed to Chris and Zoe will have my number to be available to answer contact questions, issues, and stuff that may arise. I'll speak more at one of the later meetings for anything, but again, working with this council, I tell people all the time, some of my other boards are the same. You all do your homework, you read the information, you ask the questions up front, you don't play gotchas on the board, and we discuss things openly and straight. And I appreciate that working with each one of you. It has been a great time. I choose my word, it's a great time. It's been fun. I hope I'm not leaving too many legacy issues. That's one of the things that when we started with the entire team, with Chin Moore and Yelsa and the rest of the team, we were looking at is as we form codes, land development regulations, is how do we set things up so that we don't create legacy issues that we ran into in our 200 years plus experience in every other city that didn't allow them to redevelop or develop or attract people or create a city that people really wanted to live in. We did a lot of, we probably spent 2,000 hours or better going over that for a year and a half. Hopefully we set the table so that we can continue with the predictability that we continue to draw businesses and residents to Westlake for the long haul. All I got. Thank you.
You have public comments one more time on the agenda. You zoom through them. You got something for us, Mr. Campbell? You gotta come up and it's 7:36 p.m. Second one.
Dr. Campbell, I'm 062. I'm not volunteer. And this year, starting for the 7th, I'm 90. So we have been, top commissions for South Florida, or in support of social service.
I'm waiting to consider for the foundation to be Friday or
Email it to Zoe, she'll email it to us.
You have to go, council.
We gotta see it. Yeah, so maybe email,
I don't have to, I'm asking. We both probably not second.
is there a phone?
Work.
I don't know what, I don't know what it says.
Oh, yeah.
This is not what we should say.
Okay, just think in my mind.
Maybe bring it, print it and bring it to us at the next meeting.
Okay, I don't know if they see it because other people in the window or they give it to them.
Usually it's something that's already arrived and see if they're talking something. Thank you so much. Anybody else? No? Okay, adjourning 7:37.